if you think about what we've been through so far, we started out lead generating, then we set some goals and some action plans in place and time management, and then we started working with buyers. We figured out how to write contracts. We did ins and outs of mortgage, title insurance, home warranties. Then last week was CMAs, figuring out what a house will sell for in this market, which is a big part of now working with sellers. So if somebody calls you and says, hey, I want to sell my house, now what do we do? Okay? So we're going to start. You got to fill in the blank here. There's a really good flow chart in your paperwork here that kind of takes you through the steps that we do. I listened to a Buffini seminar the other day, and the guy said, never apologize for what you guys get paid. Because when you think of all you really do, there's a bunch of steps, and this flow chart is a pretty good thing, not necessarily for your seller to see, but for you to see. These are all the steps that you have to go through to get to a successful closing for a seller. So it's kind of a flow chart that spells it out. Listing agents control the market. So if you have listings, you're going to make money, because either you're going to sell them or somebody else is going to sell them. If you have buyers, there's a chance that person may never buy anything. But if you have listings, they'll end up selling. Pete just closed, got your check today, right? Nice. Was that your first one? Mm-hmm. For his first closing as a realtor, yay.
Good job.
And it was the listing from hell, right?
Yes. I had the deal fall through on the final walkthrough. The buyer was supposed to close the next day, and we had flooding. So it ruined the floor in the kitchen and living room. And the buyer had walked through the day after the rain. It all fell through, so I had to do everything twice. I had to relist it, reprice it, we had to fix everything, and get another contract, and but then of course back and forth with the home inspection, and then things that just all the back and forth.
And the seller was sick of doing work, didn't want to do anything for the second buyer because they'd had to do so much for the first thing.
They had to put in a new furnace. I mean, and they put a lot of money. They put money into it to get it ready to sell. They did all new carpeting, flooring, painted the whole place. So they put an initial investment in, and then we had to go back and be like, you need to fix the floors.
So what did you learn from that?
I mean, I learned a lot because, quite honestly, even on the first contract, it was my first one. So they sent a counter offer, and I'm like, it was on a weekend, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And I'm, I'm going through notes, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna counter back and hope I do it right, And I did that. One thing I did learn though is that at least especially with the first agent I was working with, she was pretty helpful. So if I missed something, she'd be like, oh, hey, did you, but it was just a good learning process because I had a lot of things happen that I just
nobody experiences on their first
time. Things I forgot, like going back into SkyScope and putting in updated forms. So if there was a new amendment or a new closing date, and it's like, oh my God, I've signed. We've had everyone sign off and send it off, but oh God, I got to go back and put that in SkyScope. Just things like that, but.
It's the best possible way you can learn.
It really was. I felt like I've had a lot of scenarios thrown at me at once. So
yeah.
I felt like I got a lot out of it.
That's good. Next one will seem easy peasy.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
So then I'm guessing that your client didn't do the seller's warranty?
They did.
They did. So did they just have what didn't have for the furnace?
Well, what had happened was the home inspection showed that the furnace was old. It was the original one. It was old. As part of the request for the buyers was have that inspected, have somebody come out and service it, the air conditioning and heating. So AB May had come out, and the guy immediately stopped and he said, I can't pass this furnace. It's actually leaking, and it needs to be shut down. It's no good.
It's going to kill somebody.
So then I went back to the.
That's never the news you want to hear.
We went back to the buyer and told them what happened, and they renegotiated on the price, and the buyer was willing to replace it. But then when the deal fell through last minute, now we're stuck with we're going to run into the same scenario. The furnace is not passable. So they coughed up the money, put the new furnace in, then we added that in the comments on the MLS, brand new furnace, you know, just things that,
So
and a
it
little
was a
sheet that
scenario
we.
that wasn't covered under the warranty, the seller warranty?
It's
Oh,
a pre-existing
yeah, it's
condition.
pretty,
Yeah, it was pre-existing.
It was old before you bought your warranty,
But they said it
so.
didn't matter the age as long as there wasn't anything
It
wrong,
was,
so.
there was something wrong.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
Darn, that was on a list.
Well, congratulations on your first
Yeah,
closing,
thanks.
Pete.
You got
Okay.
it to closing?
Yeah. There is a difference between a one-step and two-step listing plan, and we're gonna talk about the one-step plan because it's the one I use, so I can talk about it easier. There's a two-step plan. Some agents actually believe in, when somebody calls you and says they wanna sell their house, that you go out and meet with them first, you gather information, you see the house, then you come back, put your CMA together, and go out for a second meeting to present your stuff and get it signed. I personally don't believe in that because I just don't trust anybody to get in between me when I get back. You know what I
Right.
mean? If I'm there and I'm in their living room and they're ready to sign, then I'm gonna do the whole shoot and match that same day. Okay, which means you have to prepare a little bit more than you would have to go out and do the first meeting. So that's the one we're gonna talk about. Okay, somebody calls you, says they wanna sell their house. I'm gonna go ahead and go through the fill in the blank stuff with you. First thing you're gonna do is a preliminary seller assessment.
Sherry, can you give a copy?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Preliminary seller assessment, okay? And this is what you do in that preliminary seller assessment, which is basically your first conversation with them, okay? One, this is your conversation with them. You're gonna have a conversation, find out if they wanna sell their house. B, you're gonna pull up the tax records for their house. Similar to what we talked about in the CMA thing, that's kind of where you start. And or C, pull up the previous MLS sheet. If you can get access to the previous MLS sheet, that will give you all you need to know to get ready for your listing appointment, okay? Sometimes you don't have access to that, okay? Then the next thing you're gonna do while you've got them on the phone is do your pre-listing interview. And I put a copy of this in your packet here. If you want to make some copies of these are great to have by your phone because you never know when a seller is going to call you. But basically you just say, I need to gather some information from you. Do you mind if I ask you some questions? And so when you're talking to them, ask them questions about the house. Why are you selling? What's the type of the house? Do you know the basic square footage? Is the basement finished or unfinished? Those kind of things. You're getting phone numbers, email addresses, and addresses. And why would you get all that from them, from this phone call?
Contact information.
You're gonna add them to your database, okay? Even if they decide not to list, they're still gonna go in your database. So this is a really good form to collect information. And the reason you do that is back to your fill in the blank. One, it establishes you as a professional, okay? You want them to know that this is what the process that you go about. You just don't go out to their house and say, okay, what do you want to list it for? You know, you're actually gathering information so that you can give them good advice. Two, it enables you to identify intent and urgency. You might react a little differently if they said, you know, we really don't have to sell, but we heard the market's hot and, you know, or we've got to move in 2 months. We got to get this done. Okay, both those information is going to be helpful to you because you might list it at different prices based on their intent and their urgency. 3, it starts to build rapport and trust. It's the biggest thing about a listing appointment. They have to believe that you're not in it just for the money, that you're there to really help them through the process and they can trust you.
Builds rapport and what?
And trust. 4, it creates a forum for you to ask questions. Okay, if you tell them ahead of time, before we meet, I just need to ask you a few questions. Is that okay? It gives you the opportunity to do that. People are more willing to answer questions for you. And 4, it allows you to uncover any competition. I think there's a thing on here that says, have you talked to another realtor? Or who else have you talked to? That gives you an idea of what kind of competition you're up against, if any. Okay, so that's all done on the phone call. Any questions about the preliminary assessment at all? Okay. Then number 2, after you get off the phone call, that's when you get your listing appointment preparation. This is when you get ready to go on your listing appointment, okay? So the first thing you do is do your CMA. We learned that last week, right? Do your CMA. Second thing you do is print out a listing presentation. We learned that last week too, right? And then the third thing you do is you put together your listing packet, stuff you're going to take out to the house with you. If you go back a couple pages in your book, I put the listing packet contents of my listing packet, what I take with me. Okay, keep going forward. It's in this way. I'm sorry, the other way.
Oh.
The opposite of backwards. See it? Okay, these are the things that I take with me when I go on the listing appointment. I take my listing presentation with my CMA already done. Then I bring all the contract paperwork that they're going to have to sign if they decide to move forward. We went over that in class 5. Your exclusive right to sell, your franchise addendum, your seller's disclosure, lead paint if the house is older than 1978, seller's estimated proceeds sheet, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, and your MLS waiver, which we'll talk about too. Well, let's go ahead and talk about both those things. Yard sign, lockbox, camera to take pictures. Those are the things that I take with me on my listing appointment. Also, I forgot there's page 2, Missy just showed me. I have an electronic measurer that will measure the size of the rooms. I bring a home warranty brochure with me so that I can talk to them about a home warranty. I bring a sheet that talks about CSS instructions, how we're going to show the house, whether it's going to be on all coded lockbox or electronic lockbox, who they're going to call to set up appointments, a calculator, a pen, a paper, and business cards. Some people like to prepare these packets ahead of time and just have them so they can grab it and go out the house. I don't do that. I know where everything is. I use this as my checklist before I walk out the door, and I grab everything that I need to take with me. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, it's coming up. Let's talk a little bit about the use of an MLS waiver. An MLS waiver, and I don't think I have that on your sheet. You might need to write that in under seller's estimated proceeds. Write an MLS waiver. That's okay, on your listing packet. What this is, oh, you did that. Look at you. This is an MLS waiver. If you go to a house and you get ready to list it, and they really need to do some things first. They want to paint a room, or they want to replace the carpet, or they want to get all the crap packed up so that you can see the house. You want to go ahead and get the listing, but you don't necessarily want to put it on MLS that day until they get stuff done. Rather than waiting to get the listing, I have them go ahead and sign the listing, so you've got the listing, it can't go to anybody else, and then we fill out an MLS waiver that says home will not be put on MLS for 2 weeks. Okay? So that way, or however long you want to do it, but that way you get the listing, but you don't have to put on MLS. Because if you take the listing and don't have an MLS waiver, you have to get it in within 3 business days, or you get fined. Okay? Now make a little note by MLS waiver. If you use this, you have to immediately fax in the MLS waiver and the contract to MLS to show them, yes, I've got a contract, I've got a listing, but here's my MLS waiver. This is why it's not on MLS yet.
Say that one more time.
You have to immediately send the MLS waiver and the listing agreement to MLS.
Okay.
And the phone number to do that on is actually on the MLS form, on the waiver form. I use these all the time. Rather than putting off listing it, I go ahead and list it, fill out the MLS waiver, and then put it on whenever it's okay to put it on.
And for anyone that hasn't listed anything in the MLS,
Uh-huh.
you might have to wait for someone to help you, so it could be not within that 3 days.
There you
I mean,
go.
I think I got my listing and Sherry's on vacation. I don't know how to put this in MLS, so.
I got my listing Lee and her husband were going away with their son, so I
Yeah.
just popped in. We went over everything I was gonna have to do, and I went home and did it all by myself.
Yeah. You got
Nobody's dinged me and said I did it wrong,
You
so.
got brokers
Good deal.
here. You got brokers here that can help you too, but it can't hurt to have that in there and give yourself a little time. I use them sometimes so I can get a professional photographer out there, so that whenever I put it on MLS, I have really nice pictures. So sometimes I use it for that. You know. Emily, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I think there's you can email the MLS waiver to the
Yes.
to them directly.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah, along with the contract.
Mhm.
You betcha. Okay, so that's my contract that that's my packet that I put together. Now you're ready for your listing appointment, which is number 3. This is when you're going to physically go to the house. That's your next step. And if you kind of do all this stuff ahead of time, you'll feel confident about going to the house. Okay, so next is listing appointment. First thing you do is tour the home. I walk in the door, I put my stuff down, and I say, okay, show me around your house. Okay, tour the home. And whenever I do that, I have a piece of paper and a pencil, and I'm taking notes on each room. I'm taking notes on the left-hand side of things I love about the house, and I'm taking notes on the right-hand side of stuff I'm going to tell them to fix. Okay? And that's how I distinguish it. They don't know, I'm just taking notes on everything. Because, like, for instance, it's got a beautiful fireplace in the bedroom. That's not real common, so that's something I'm going to spotlight on my listing. So I'll put master bedroom fireplace. But if the closets are so full you can't open the door, I'm going to put clean out closets. Okay? So I'm putting the good and the bad. I'm taking notes as I go through. Use this time to build rapport. Don't say, oh my God, your closet is horrendous. You say, what a beautiful paint job. Did you pick out this color? You know, find something you can compliment them on. Sometimes
I'm
it's
a
harder
clothes
than
horse
others.
too, but we should do something about
Well,
that.
this is not that you're going to get to that point. But right now, it's just build rapport. Because no matter who you are, you're proud of your house. You know what I mean? No matter what it looks like, how much money you spent on it, you're proud of it. And so this is the time to let them acknowledge and validate that you know they are, and you should be proud of it. It's a great house, and we'll be able to sell it. Might be able to sell it for $50,000 less than you thought, but we will be able to sell it. We will sell it. Okay. Then the next thing I do is sit down at the kitchen table and do my listing presentation. That's when I get out that presentation and I just go through it page by page by page and talk about each of those pages tells me something I want to cover with them. Once talks about what I can do for you, basically, is what that listing presentation is. Here's what I can do for you. Here's what I do to get the house sold. Okay? That's the point. You get through everything. At the end, that's when you want to discuss pricing. Average days on the market. Pricing, average days on the market, and commission. You want to go through everything first. You want to go through all your comparables. And then you want to finally get to where your guys are going to agree on the right price for this house, based on the comps and based on the condition.
What was the third item?
Pricing, days on the market, and commission. And here's how I explain my commission. Is anybody on the $395 a month plan in here? No. Here's how I explain my commission. I say I charge a 6% commission on all my listings because if I have to work with a buyer's agent, I have to share it 50-50. So I get to keep 3, they get to keep 3. Okay? I do personally, I'm not telling you guys you should do this or not do this. I personally tell them if I can sell the house myself without a buyer's agent, I only charge a 5% commission because I make more, you pay less, we're both happy. Okay? So that's just part of my marketing plan. Because very seldom can you do that, but when you do, I don't know that they should have to pay a 6% commission if you're going to do everything anyway, so I charge a 5% for that. The one we hate to hear was, well, would you consider doing it for less, or can you do it for less than that? And my answer is always, you know what, I really can't, and let me tell you why. This is my full-time job. This is what I do to eat and pay my bills. And I got to tell you, one of my big jobs for you is going to be negotiate on your behalf. And if I'm willing to give up my commission money that quickly, how do you think I'm going to do with your money on your house? So I tell them, nope, I don't negotiate commission.
Quick question, because you had mentioned before, like, I think we even talked about with my buyer,
Mhm.
if you need the drop commission just to get it done.
Yep.
Is that something you have to get Steve's approval on first?
No, that's one of the things about realty executives. It's your money, it's your commission.
Okay.
You can charge 0 if you want, as long as you collect whatever portion was supposed to go to realty executives.
Okay.
Nope, it's up to you. You don't have to get permission at all on any of
Well,
that.
I'm not going that far, but I was just curious
Nope.
if it came down to that, would we
Up
have
to you. And that's the other thing. If you cut it up front and then you run into a problem down the road and you have to cut it again to keep the deal together, you end up with almost nothing, and that's just silly. You know, this is what we do for a living. So, and no other company, no other profession in the world do they ask them to cut their commission. You go to the doctor, could you do this for a little less money? No. You know, nobody's going to do that. So don't.
If you're paying cash, however, the doctor is a little bit cheaper.
Sometimes they do, yeah.
They really, really
So
are.
keep yourself in high regard, okay? Then the next step, D, is to do the seller's estimated net sheet, okay? You've got one in your packet here. Looks like this. Marcia's got hers up. Okay, this is a scary form for a lot of people because there's an awful lot of blanks that you don't know what goes in there, okay? So I'm going to tell you the ones you need to worry about. Feel free to circle the lines, okay? You can fill in number 4. Number 4 is the estimated price that you think it's going to sell at. For instance, if we're going to list it for $170, but we think it's going to sell for $165, we're going to put $165 in line 4. Okay? Line 7. And I tell you what I do. Let's say it's listed for $170 and we don't know if it's going to sell for $170 or $165. I'll do $165 on one side and $170 on the other side to compare kind of what our price range is. Okay, line number 7. This is how much they owe on the house. They should be able to tell you that. So my particular person owes $65,000 on their house, if you want to go ahead and fill those numbers in just for fun. And they owe $65,000 whether we sell it for $165 or $170. They owe $65,000. Okay? A lot of people don't have second mortgages. If they did have a second mortgage, you'd put it there, but usually I'm just going to do first mortgage for this. Okay, number 14. That's your title insurance policy. Did Isla give you guys sheets that said how much title insurance is last week? Or one of those weeks? Misty, you got a copy of it? There you go. So this will tell you that if we sell the house for $165,000, their title insurance policy is going to be $485.
Absolutely.
Okay. Number 15. Your title company is always going to charge a closing fee. Okay, I don't know what is Isla's on there, Misty? What the closing fee would be?
Closing transaction fee, $350. Borrower lender, $25. I don't know if that's right.
Borrower, no, this is for the seller. Seller's $175. So you're always going to have a fee for closing, $175. Okay, skip down to line 17. This is going to be your commission. So if we think it's going to sell for $165,000 and we're charging a 6% commission, that's $9,900. And if it sells for $170,000, it's going to be more than that. So be sure there are going to be 2 different numbers on those two lines based on the sales price. Okay, honest to God, that's all you need. Okay, there's going to be, I always tell people these are estimated numbers. I can get you close, but I can't get you exact. There will be prorations for taxes and insurance that the title company will figure out. I'm just giving you an idea of what ballpark we're in. So basically, if you added up all these numbers, the total amount to be paid at closing, including paying off the mortgage, would be $75,815. That goes on line 31. Sorry. So their approximate net proceeds on line 32 would be 165 minus that number gives them how much they're gonna net, 89,185. Don't hold me to those numbers, okay? So, you do this after you've decided the price, not before you've decided the price, because I go, well, then I wanna sell it for 200,000. That's two
Me
different,
too,
two different
but-
things, two different things, okay? But you wanna go through this with them so that they understand this is what the money that you're gonna net out of this house, or roughly what they're gonna net out of the house. Okay, you with me?
You get a lot of sadness at this point.
Sometimes you do, and sometimes they're happier than they think they're gonna be. That $9,900 sticks out pretty firmly at that point. It's a lot of money, and it's a lot of what their proceeds would be. But realize I do this at the end of the appointment after I've validated and justified everything I'm gonna do for them, okay? Okay, so then your E thing you're gonna do is your staging. I'm gonna re-walk through the house now with them again. The first time I walked through the house and complimented everything, remember? Oh, this is lovely. Oh, did you pick out the paint color? Now we're gonna walk through every room. You're gonna hand them a piece of paper and a pencil to take notes and tell them what needs to be done in every room to get this house in the most marketable shape ever, okay? So this is where you talk about staging. You're gonna have to clean out the closet. You know, maybe we should rent out one of those pods, you know, anything that you can and I always tell people, I am painfully honest, because the stuff I tell you now will make you money down the road. And so I want to tell you, and some people say, well, I'm not going to do that. You know, I'm not going to pull up the ugly carpet and put hardwood floors. Then we're going to have to price it differently.
Now, do you do this before you have them sign the agreement?
I do. Yeah, I don't know why, but I do. I don't know if there's a good reason to or not to. Okay? And then F is close. Are you comfortable moving forward, is what I ask them. You comfortable moving forward? If they said no, not really, well, how come? What's holding you back? What can I answer for you? And then so you handle the objections and ask again. Well, I need to get this stuff done before I put it on the market. I just happen to bring this MLS waiver. No worries, we'll go ahead and get this signed, but I won't go on MLS until you're ready for it to go. Now are you comfortable moving forward? You have to close. It's a hard thing for new realtors to do sometimes, is you gotta ask for the business. You've told them everything you're gonna do, you've told them what they're gonna make, told them the process, now it's time to ask for it.
When you're asking them if they're gonna interview other agents or anything, do you try and make yourself the last agent or the first agent?
That's a really good question. Probably the last, because they're more likely to sign with you that day. But I think people work with who they know, like, and trust, and it doesn't make me any difference. You know what I mean? If they're going to pick me, they're going to pick me. And if another agent comes in and lowballs me on commission, better.
I didn't want that anyway.
I don't want it anyway. I didn't want to work with you anyway.
Right.
And I tell people when they ask me to come on commission, I say there's a line that says, you know, some agents do. There are some agents there that do cut their commissions, and they should. And they should. I don't. This is what I do for a living.
You'll make your appointment based on your schedule then and not worry about what.
I don't try to, yeah. The soonest I can get out there, the better, truthfully. Okay, G, now I get my paperwork signed and completed. So paperwork signed and completed. Okay, and one of the things that you're gonna put in your paperwork is you're gonna have to have this information so that you can put it on centralized showing service so that people can call to schedule a time to go see the house. And I tell them ahead of time that this is gonna be, tell me, do you want them to call you? Do you want them to call your husband? You know, how do you want to handle the approval for showings? So I explain the whole showing process. Is everybody familiar with this or not? Do I need to explain CSS? No? Okay. So I do need to explain CSS or I don't?
No, I mean, I'm not familiar with it, but
Okay.
I think I understand.
I'm going to go through it. Basically, Realty Executives pays for you to have this service, that whenever you have a listing, somebody wants to show your listing, they will call this number, 913-451-SHOW, and they'll set up an appointment. They'll say, this is Betty from Reese and Nichols. I want to show the house on Canterbury Street Sunday from 1 to 3. Okay? CSS will then call your client and say, hey, I got Betty that wants to show your house from 1 to 3. Okay, so you don't have to be involved in all that, which is really nice. But but you'll get a report and lets you know who's doing it. There are 3 different ways that they can handle the showings. One, they can do go, which means that the house is vacant, they can just go and show anytime they want, they don't have to get a hold of the seller first. You don't want to do that if you got a seller living there, because they could be sitting there in their underwear when people are unlocking their door, okay? So it could be go.
That's a good way to get accident shot.
That's right. The second thing, the third way is appointment required. That means that they literally have to talk to the person before they'll let somebody schedule the appointment. That's a little tricky because they may not have trouble, they have trouble getting a hold of them. It makes, somebody may skip the showing because of that. The second one is the most common one, that's a courtesy call. They will call you, they'll leave a message. If you're not there, they'll assume it's okay to go ahead and show, and they'll show the house. That's the easiest one. So I usually try to kind of steer people towards that one if I can. Okay, and you want to go through and are there any pets here? Are they going to be kenneled while you're at work? What about, do they bite? Do we need to make arrangements? All that stuff, and then who do you want them to call for the showings?
So can you fill this out online or you have to?
Absolutely, you can. I take it on, Emily, I take it with me on my listing presentation just so I can gather that information,
Okay.
and then when I come back, I do it all online. This is just so I remember to ask the questions. I have not a very good memory, so it doesn't, if I don't take stuff with me that reminds me to gather stuff, I'll get home and go, oh, I forgot. Okay. So, paperwork, CSS showing instructions. Then you're going to go through the rooms a third time. So you're going to take, H is room notes and pictures. Okay, so what do we do the first tour through the house?
Compliment them.
Pros and cons.
That's
Pros and
right.
cons, and
That's right. Compliment them, build rapport. What do we do the second trip through the house?
point out the stuff that you noticed.
Stuff that needs to be done. Okay? Third trip, this is when you're taking your notes on stuff that you're going to have to put in MLS. Like, is there carpet or hardwoods in this room? Is there a ceiling fan in this room? Are there carpets or blinds or drapes in this room? Is it a walk-in closet? The things that when you go to put it on MLS, you're going to be going, oh my God, was there a walk-in closet in that bedroom?
pictures.
Yeah, trying to figure out, okay? So if you walk through and you take all those notes, and then if you have electronic measure thing, you can get a KCRR, you can measure the rooms while you're doing it.
Brilliant.
Then you get back and you've got it all, and you can sit down in MLS and fill it all in. Okay? So
That's
that's,
just one of those things.
they're cheap. They're not very expensive. I don't know. I bought it 17 years ago.
They last a long time.
Yeah.
Don't lose
Same
it.
batteries?
Yeah, I haven't done anything to it.
Well, that's good.
Now it's going to quit now that you guys are talking about it. I haven't had any problems up to then.
We're gonna have to buy a replacement one because we spoke it up.
So you're going home, and I take preliminary pictures. I almost always schedule professional photography for my listings now, just because it's getting to be the standard practice here in Kansas City. But I will go through and take pictures of the rooms anyway. So, like Misty said, if I get home, I can't remember if there's a walk-in closet. Sometimes I can look through the pictures and see. So, take pictures and notes. Lastly, you're going to place your sign in the yard and your lockbox on the door with the key in it. Okay, got it? That's your whole listing presentation. Any questions about any of that part?
It's a full day's work right there.
It takes a couple hours probably. Takes a couple hours. Should take you an hour or so to get ready for it, then should take you an hour or two while you're there. But remember, you got a $9,000 check at the end of all this. So for 3 hours work, figure out your pay per hour. It's okay. Okay, number 4 is the listing administration work. Okay, this is your admin work. This is how, it's one thing to get the listing, but if you don't get it everywhere it's supposed to go, it's the same thing as not having it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put it in MLS. And all you got to do is fill in blanks, truthfully. Just, has everybody put something in MLS yet? Missy, you have? Emily, I know you have.
I just put one like this week, but I haven't finished it yet. So I have a question about the seller copy of MLS. That's when you submit the listing and put all the photos and let it go live, then
Yep.
you,
Then I send it to them.
but at that time you can't change anything.
You can go back and change it at any time.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go back and change. So once it goes live, it will be live before you can send it. There's no way to send it before it goes live.
Okay.
So it'll be live when you send it. But the next step is send seller a copy of your MLS.
Mhm.
After I have it all in there and it's live, first thing I do is send them a copy and say, this is how your listing will appear on MLS and all websites.
Mhm.
Please take a minute, look it over, see if there's anything you want added, deleted, or changed. Because I can go in then and change it. Doesn't mean that people didn't see it already, but that's when I can go in and change it.
Okay.
Okay? It gives them ownership too. I don't want them to feel, I want them to feel like we're in this together. You know, we priced it at what the price we came up with together. I showed them my marketing plan, and if I don't want somebody coming back and saying, well, if you'd had a better picture on there, or if you'd listed that we had a theater room, I don't want them saying that. I want them, you know, take ownership and help me do the best I can to get this sold.
When do you have them complete the disclosure, seller's disclosure?
That is during the period when when I go through the house the third time, that's when I have them fill that out.
Okay.
Because it's gonna take them a little bit to get all that filled out. And so, that I would have them sit there and fill that out while I'm taking notes and stuff on the house.
Okay, so.
Make sense? It goes under G, paperwork signed and completed.
Okay.
Okay, and then your last step to listing administration is you have to put your contract in SkySlope.
I haven't done that yet.
I've not done
It's really not hard. It's a hard thing to teach in a group because every file is individual. Basically, the process is that's our internal auditing system that it goes into, and it pumps in here to Susan. So basically, you create a file by filling in all the information, buyer's name, seller's name, address, that kind of stuff. Then you can take your contract, you can scan it all as one big package, and then go in there and sort it and put the contract under the contract spot, the lead paint under the lead paint spot. It's really not hard to do, but your first
Do you
one...
wait to do it until you have a buyer?
No,
Okay,
no. Your listing you have to put in when it's a listing,
okay.
okay? Then when you have a buyer, then you add to it, basically.
So I need to do that soon.
You need to do that soon, yeah, because
So
you've got a listing. I'll talk you through it. Just come see
If
me.
you got a listing but you haven't put it in MLS,
Mhm.
you still need to do that first.
If you've got all the paperwork together, yeah, I would do it, because the sooner you get it in, the sooner it gets audited, and if there's any issues, you can get it fixed while your seller still likes you. You can get stuff re-signed and that kind of stuff. I would do it as soon as you have it pulled together. I wouldn't do it one piece at a time, like if all you have is the lead paint disclosure, but you don't have the rest all signed or anything,
Right.
don't put the lead paint disclosure. But once
The
you
only
get the
thing I'm
contract package
missing is
together,
she was not having a good day, so I left her with the paperwork to fill out the disclosure.
seller's disclosure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
You
that's
could
the
go
only
ahead-
thing I
you
don't
could
have.
go ahead and do it now.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I put a little note in there, seller's disclosure coming, so that Susan doesn't have to see that and think, Misty,
You forgot. I
where's the
didn't forget.
seller's
I swear
disclosure?
I
If
didn't
you
forget.
tell
I
her,
just don't have it
it
yet.
helps them do their job
Okay,
too.
fantastic.
Okay? So SkySlope, first time you do a SkySlope, come find me, Lynn, Susan. One of us is here all the time and ask us to help you through. Or your broker up north or in Lansing, whatever. Okay, number 5. Now comes the fun part. Now you get to start marketing the property. The first thing I do in marketing the property, which seems like it's not really marketing, but it kind of is develop a system for regular communication with your seller. Sellers will hang in there with you if you talk to them. If they get the impression you put the sign in the yard, put it on MLS, and then went on vacation,
Game over.
yeah, it is, because they won't listen when it's time for a price adjustment. They won't, if somebody keeps complaining about the green carpeting, they won't replace the green carpeting if that's the only thing you ever say is, hey, they don't like the green carpeting. You know what I mean?
Right.
So develop a system for regular communication with them. I do weekly reports. I tell them, I said, you're going to hear from me once a week. Sometimes I'll call and tell you nobody even drove by the house slow this week. Sometimes there's not a lot to say. But I do a weekly report that shows them the people that showed it and the feedback they gave me. And you can do that from CSS too. Okay? And then you start working your marketing plan, is B. And I put my marketing plan in your book for you to look at. Mine is very simple. Okay? Very, very, very simple. Because really, your job is not to sell the house, your job is to expose it to as many people possible that might be interested in buying it. That's what your job is. So, my marketing plan is basically, I put the sign in the yard, put the lockbox on so people can see it, I put it on MLS. I'm a big believer in online marketing syndication, so I use social media, but also, when you're talking to people, we got a better marketing piece of it, because it automatically syndicates to all these places too. Okay, so
Oh, that's so cool. I keep getting emails like, hey, we have your listing on our
it's
such
all over
and
the
such.
place.
How long does it take from the time you put it on
Almost,
MLS?
Almost
in-
immediately.
Yeah, within 24 hours easily.
So it's from MLS to here
Yep.
or from SkySlope
Yeah.
to here?
It's from MLS.
MLS.
MLS to there. But I also, in addition, put it on Facebook. I do a lot of Facebook, LinkedIn. I do a lot of promotion that way because it costs nothing and it's having a decent response.
Thank you very much for telling me how to do that. I
What?
was really,
Did it work?
it did. I
Good.
was very excited.
Good. Okay, broker tour. I do these sometimes I don't. These are these Tuesday tours that you get emails from. It says, hey, come here and see my house and I'll feed you. We used to figure out who had the best food, and so the houses that we hit on Tuesdays, we used to, oh, they've got Cascones. Let's go there. Anyway, I don't do a ton of these, to be honest with you, anymore because the market got really fast. I didn't have to. But if you want to do a broker tour where you advertise to other real estate agents to see the house, you certainly can. One of your vendors that we met with the other week will actually pay for lunches, if you want to do that kind of stuff. So if you have a unique house that you think needs some exposure to the other realtors in town, that's a good thing to do.
I still have never gotten an invitation to that. I don't even know what time to show up here to do it.
To do what?
The broker tour.
We don't do them.
Oh, that's why. So how do you
I
find
think
out where they
Lansing
are?
does.
Lansing
though.
does.
Lansing goes
They don't
every
have
Tuesday.
anything today, but
It's
usually
probably
there
because
is.
houses have been selling so fast right now.
We haven't seen very many of them because it's been moving so fast. You'll get emails that are like flyer
Yes.
emails from agents. That
And I'm
talk
like,
about
I don't even
prices.
know who you are. How do you have my email?
Yeah, it goes out to every agent in Kansas City.
Apparently.
So that's where that's from.
And sometimes you'll see them on Facebook too.
Uh-huh.
Like, open house, come check out my house, I'll feed you lunch.
Have you met Rhonda Daner?
Yes.
Rhonda and Saeed do broker tours on Tuesdays. They
Okay.
used to normally go. So if you ever want to go,
I've heard.
show up here a little earlier, talk to Rhonda and say, hey, I want to go with you guys.
Okay.
Okay. Got me through some lean years when I was having trouble affording food. At least I ate on Tuesdays. Okay. The other part of my marketing plan is open houses. And disclosure here, I'm not a big believer in open houses to sell houses. I'm a big believer in open houses to get buyers. But some people really like to have their houses open, and if they do, I'll certainly contact one of you to sit on the open house.
Yes.
I have a question about
Sure.
open house. The house that we list is a townhouse. They can put a sign in the yard.
Mhm.
So is it? I think it's difficult for neighbor and other people drive by. To
You won't
know.
be able to see it.
Yeah. So the only way you can let others know there is open house is like online, put it on MLS and Zillow.
Can you put an open house sign in the yard just for those 2 hours?
Probably.
I bet you can.
Yeah.
I bet you if it's just if it's not a permanent sign, if it's something you just put out for a short time and put back. But most people find open houses this day. If you put it on MLS as an open house, it auto-populates out to like Zillow, Realtor.com, those kind of places too. And that's where most people are finding open houses, is they're looking online and figuring out where the open houses is and driving to them. It's not necessarily the signage.
Okay.
But if you have the signage for the open house, it'll help them find the place.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Okay. If the property get under contract before you set up the open house, you can just cancel it on the MLS.
You absolutely just go on MLS and cancel it.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what's happening. We're not having houses on the market long enough to do open houses, which is kind of pitiful. A custom listing book. This is where you put together a book to leave in the house that basically has a copy of the flyer. It has the seller's disclosure. It might have school information. It might have, shopping and restaurants nearby. I'm really doing this more for my seller than the buyer. Okay? I want them to see, I'm earning that $9,000 is what I'm doing. Okay?
So what do you
kind of stuff do I put in
Yeah,
there?
what's the information about school, like the,
What school system you're in, what the elementary school is, the middle school and the high school. If you have information on those schools, like Blue Valley is the number one rated school in Kansas, you know what I mean? Put that kind of stuff. Anything that you can find on the neighborhood. Mark Stahl at Prospect Mortgage can put together an amazing piece for you for absolutely free. If you just tell him, hey, I've got a listing, Sherry says you've got some sort of listing pamphlet or book or something that I can put together, he'll put up all this information on, you know, where the coffee shops are and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
I told him if they can prepare a listing report, that's
Yep,
including everything.
it's really cool, yeah. Throw some business his way if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna take advantage of it, but he really has some amazing stuff that he can do.
Tell me his name again.
Mark Stahl, Stahl, or Wendy, either one can pull it together for you, but Mark's really good about it.
Is Wendy his assistant?
No, Wendy's the main loan officer back there. He's the
Okay.
second. Okay, then target mark potential buyers. I go through and the first thing I do is send the flyer to everybody in my database. Guys, I just got this new listing. If you know of anybody that might be interested in it, please pass it on. Do that for two reasons. One, people may know somebody. Second, they're gonna see that I'm constantly working. So they're gonna trust me when it's time to list their house too. And then I go through my buyers, see if I've got anybody. You know, don't overlook that. Sometimes if it's a condo, there's condos right across from Johnson County Community College. I'll put something up at Johnson County Community College. You know, that might be people that want to buy across from the school. So figure out who your buyer is and kind of target market to them if you can too. Just listed postcards to the neighbors. You can buy postcards, you can have them personalized. Color for Real Estate is a great place to do that at online. I think it's called Color. No, it's changed. I'm sorry. It's Merrill Marketing. MERRILL marketing.com. They'll put together custom postcards with your picture on it and all the information, a picture of the house. And they got cute ones, like there's one that says, guess what I did with your neighbors last night? Listed their house, you know?
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yep. You can put together flyers to have outside the house if you want. Or our mobile marketing piece is a great place to put all your pictures and stuff there so they can pull those up if they're outside the house. Virtual tours, we're gonna have a neat class next month, don't miss it. If you guys haven't seen this new photography thing that they're doing, it's like you're walking through the house. Have you guys seen some of that stuff where you can pan and it looks like you're walking through the house? Somebody that does that kind of photographer is gonna be here speaking next month to us, so check your calendars and hit that. And social media promotion. And to be honest with you, I do these things in the order of the free things first, and then the longer the house is on the market, I spend money on it to move it. Don't do it all in the first week. I know that sounds ridiculous, but you may not have to do it all in the first week if the house sells very quickly, and I kind of like to stretch it out a little bit, so in case the house is on the market for a while, I'm doing something new every week to get it sold. Does that make sense? Okay, number 6. That's when you come up with your purchase offer and negotiations. Somebody's gonna make you an offer on that house.
Fingers crossed.
So your number one job is to qualify the buyer. Figure out if that buyer is pre-approved, get a copy of the pre-approval letter. Or if they're paying cash, make them send you a proof of funds, somehow that they've got enough cash in their bank account in order to close. Do that before you even call your seller. Because if you call your seller and it's not a pre-qualified buyer and get them all crazy, do yourself a favor, pre-qualify them first. And then B is present your offer. I really like to do this in person. I know there's not many things we do in person anymore, but I really like to call them and say, hey, I got an offer on your house. Are you guys home tonight? I want to stop by. Because what I want to do is I want to sit down with the offer. I want to go through the details of what the offer is. And I wanna sit down with a new estimated seller's net sheet and show them, based on this offer, this is what you're looking at for your net. And I just like to do that in person, it's just hard to do over the phone.
Right.
And then when I do, I present it, there's only so many pieces to an offer. There's the price, there's the down payment, there's how much what their financing is gonna be, there's a closing date, and there's what they're asking them to leave in the house. So basically I write that down on a piece of paper and I said, here's what they're offering. We have a choice. We can accept it as is and you've sold your house. We can reject it entirely and walk away, or we can counter on one or all of these things. Okay? So instead of them flipping out, oh, I can't believe I made an offer, I said, okay, but you're okay with the closing date? Yeah, okay, we're okay with the closing date. Are you okay with how much money they put down? Well, yeah. So then we just get it down to the thing that we're going to counter on, which is normally price. But they'll flip out for a little while, and if you show them it's only one thing that you disagree with, everything else we're in agreement with, you know. And that's much easier to do in person than it is over the phone. Pete, did you have something?
Nope.
Okay. I skipped over it a little bit. C is discuss options. That's what I just said. They can accept it, they can reject it, or they can counter it. And they're first of all going to think you're going to talk them into accepting it. They really do. That's their impression of us, is that we're going to say, you should take this offer because this is how I get paid. Okay? Tell them, this is completely up to you. This is your house. If you want to walk away from this offer, tell me, I'll go tell them to jump in a lake. It's not a smart thing to do. But it's up to you. You could certainly do it if you want. And then you go back and you negotiate it so everyone feels like they won. Okay? There are some realtors out there that will just fight you just to win. You know, they just will, they don't care. And because you've got somebody that wants to buy it, you've got somebody that wants to sell it, you're just trying to figure out where that little area is that they both feel okay with.
Right.
And if one of them doesn't feel okay and the other one does, it won't work. It just won't work. And if it does work, you'll lose that client forever because they'll feel like they got hosed in the deal.
I
Okay.
just took the negotiations class on
How was it?
It was
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
good.
that's exactly what they said.
Seriously, your job is to find that spot, and that's what Pete did really well on his deal that about fell apart, because they were ready to hightail it a couple times, weren't they?
Yeah.
So how did you keep them engaged and moving forward?
I mean, part of it was the situation because this was a second home that it's a lady that lived there with her daughter at this place. It's a townhome. She got married. They moved out, got another place. They used that place as a rental for a year and decided they didn't like doing that. Okay, let's sell it. So there was the stress there of all the extra expense. So I kept kind of throughout the process reminding them, it's your call. I don't know what your financial situation is, but if you want to walk away over, you know, again, they had already put a lot of money in.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I was like, kind of near the end, it was like maybe $300-400 worth of repairs at
Right.
the buyer, and I'm like, do you really want to walk away from a few
$300.
more
Being
$100
done.
to get this out
Right.
of your life,
Right.
you know, and not have the mortgage and utilities and
That's the value we bring to it, truthfully, is that
Yeah.
we can see it as $300. They see it as, oh my God, this is the 57th thing somebody's asked of me.
right, because they kept saying, we're done
Yeah.
putting money in, and I'm like, I said,
Yeah,
I'll do whatever you want, but
it's $300.
they could walk away, and now you're paying another mortgage for a month or two while we get another contract. You're paying all the utilities. and-
Right, so total that
So
costs
finally,
that.
they just
Yeah.
conceded, and finally got it done. They pushed the closing back twice, but it finally got done.
Good for you, Pete. And the first offer is always the best offer. It just is. If it's acceptable at all and you can negotiate it to where you need it to be, the second offer you're going to get on the house is not going to be as good, because the longer the house is on the market, the least amount people want to pay for it. So, okay. Then in your packet here at the end, I'm not going to go through it, but there's some really good. I'm not a very good negotiator. I don't like it. I do it because I have to, but it's not something that I'm really, really like to do. So this little flyer here on 7 negotiating tips for people who hate to negotiate, that spoke to me. It gives you some really good tips on negotiating, 7 negotiating tips for homeowners, and more helpful tips, and then This last little graphic on listings is really good too, so I just threw those in for you guys to look at your convenience. Okay, so once you get it all negotiated, everybody signs off on it, you are under contract, you've entered your escrow period, and that's class next week. So what do we do now from escrow on?
And what's this listing here?
That is part of what I do for my listings.
Oh.
I have a system on Top Producer that actually reminds me to do these things.
This is your to-do
That's
report,
mine,
just
that's mine to
reminder.
do,
And
yep.
it's called Top Producer.
Yeah, that's my, yeah,
That's a special piece of software.
It
If
is.
you've been in here a while.
yep. I had it when I very first started out, when there wasn't anything else. But you could use it as a checklist and put it on like Outlook or something like that to send yourself reminders when you're supposed to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions for me, guys? Anything we didn't cover? You gonna feel comfortable if the phone rings and says, sell my house?
Absolutely. Fake it till you make it.
Well, I would have to come in and pull together a packet or two.
Yeah.
first.
Don't be
I
afraid
need
to
to
ask
do
for
that.
help. Honest to God, it takes help for the first two. Your first one, your head's gonna be spinning and you're gonna do it. And do like Pete did. Pete made copies of everything so that he could go back for the
Brilliant.
second one and go, okay, here's what I did.
So I type everything and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, oh, here's how you fill out an amendment. If I have to do an amendment, I have something to refer to.
I'm telling
Brilliant.
you, you need help on the first two and after that, you'll be just fine. The first one, your head's spinning. The second one, you're going, okay, I remember doing this. And the third one, you're fine. You're fine. So you got lots of help here. Susan Davis is a wealth of knowledge and she's here every day. Lynn Weymouth is also a wealth of knowledge and you guys have her cell phone number when you onboarded. So you can call her day or night to get help. And I'm here off and on and I'm happy to help if I'm here or if I can do something over the phone. I'm happy to do that too. But you've got lots of help. Don't hesitate to ask for it. Because it's a little tricky at first, but once you do it, it's not rocket science. You'll do just fine. Okay, guys, next week is steps to successful closing. This is where we're going to go through all the steps from contract to closing. So, thank you so much. Have a great week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next is second to last week. But the one that was scheduled, let me tell you guys while I'm here.
Yes.
The one scheduled for the 13th, Realty Executives Productivity Tools, has been moved to the 20th. Because Nancy Summers actually teaches that class and she's going to be out of town on the 13th.
Oh.
So that one's we're going to do next week, then we're going to skip a week, and then you'll do your last one.